Well, we might as well start in the beginning. I thought it would be useful, instead of trying to resolve these problems by email and phone and so forth, which are so easy to misunderstand when you're exchanging them between a number of people, that I come across, well actually I've actually come down, I've been in Scotland for 4 days sorting out the adoption of 20 odd candidates up there, so I'm on my way down to London and then Essex and then Tiverton, I think, but after that, over the next 3 or 4 days, so it's convenient to call in. So thank you very much indeed for fitting me in, because I appreciate it's not always easy to get everybody together. I am in your hands to a certain extent, insofar as what anybody wishes to say. I represent the party and have the power of both the NEC and the party secretary that sits in my hands to resolve any matters concerning Great Grimsby. So perhaps we could look, obviously you have me at a disadvantage. I happen to know Victoria purely and simply because she's the candidate I've met her before. I don't know any of you. I know some names and so forth, but I don't know who you are, so I'd be grateful if we could perhaps start with that, if that would be.
I'm George Chapman, branch chair.
Okay.
I'm Tim Brill, branch secretary.
Okay, well I think we've had both of you, I think we've exchanged emails, I think, yes.
Chris Osborne, branch member.
Ron Shepherd, group leader.
That's Simpson, council.
Chris Harness, treasurer.
I'm Steve Litton, vice chairman.
John Stockton, council.
Okay. So, I defer to whoever wants to start. I don't have a set agenda here. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I think it would be useful if we could start with the problems that you or some of you see that we have.
Well, you've obviously seen the statement that was sent to you.
Yes.
So that's a pretty good start.
Okay. I mean, insofar as the information that's been provided, and I think I tried to make that clear, an investigation was carried out regarding the evidence that's been provided on a number of occasions by a number of people. And the evidence was put before the NEC, ironically, just before I took over responsibility, in that sense, for the job that I now do. And I have revisited all of that evidence that has been provided to help, so you know that I'm covering insofar as membership of the NF, National Front, the allegations about personal matters, something to do with the child, and a number of other matters, all of which have been extensively explored by the party already. And to date, nobody has brought me anything that has not already been investigated, and I have made it. I mean, we haven't had other problems like that, but we have had one or two similar circumstances where there have been differences of opinion once a candidate has been chosen by a particular branch, and we will always, as a party, look at any evidence that comes forward, because that's my job, that's what I do, and I do it without fear or favour. And I do it under the direct instruction of the NEC. So if whatever I decide, I go forward to the NEC, they discuss it, and then they make a decision as to whether I'm right or wrong. To date, everything I've put forward has been accepted by the NEC. So again, I'm back in your hands.
I understand there's been a complaint made against me and Ron by Steve and John here. Is that going to be handled tonight?
No, insofar as individual complaints about individual members, that's handled by Adam Richardson. Adam Richardson is technically the legal secretary of the party. And he will take evidence on a complaint. A complaint as follows a very specific set of rules. Evidence is provided, somebody is then given an opportunity of seeing that evidence. That evidence is then heard before effectively a committee of the NEC, which is normally 2 members of the NEC, 1 party official plus Adam Richardson, and then they make a finding on that particular set of circumstances, whatever that is, and once that has been heard, depending on, of course, whether or not the complaint is accepted or not, a ruling is made. I mean, it can be admonishment for saying something silly, or it can be dismissal of the complaint, or it can be a sanction of including suspension or expulsion from the party. However, that's not an end of it, because that person has a right of appeal regardless of the decision to the party secretary, who sits above and actually is the final legal arbiter on disputes. Insofar as the candidacy is concerned, then that falls into my hands. I am responsible for dealing with all candidate matters, including both vetting and investigations into candidates for whatever reason that might be, whether the party sanctions it itself, or whether a branch does, or whether there are extraneous or external things said. And to date, I have to say, most of what I have seen, and I have to say, I am extremely concerned recently that the name Chris Payne has come into this. If I find that Chris Payne is involved in this, just so all of you perfectly understand that, you will be expelled from the party instantly. Chris Payne is one of the most poisonous people that we have been involved with in this party and has caused great damage on the East Coast. He is involved in investigations in 3 other seats, and if I find that he's involved with anybody in this room, just to make it perfectly clear, however innocently, you risk your membership of the party, full stop. Let me make that perfectly clear. So,
well, then you need to know that I was contacted by Chris Payne, which I then, as was Steve Harness, which I then elevated with John Chapman being the branch chair, being away in Australia.
okay.
It was of a sensitive nature. I immediately elevated it to our regional chairman, and on his advice, I contacted Jane Collins, and that has been the sole contact that I've had with him.
I mean, if he contacts you, that's a wholly different matter.
Yeah.
You can't stop a contact occurring. If somebody brings you up, sends you an email, particularly given that email addresses tend to be, shall we say, more available than they should be, but they are frequently. But we have had immeasurable problems with this man. This man is not, under any circumstances, a friend of UKIP.
Sorry, just to clarify then, just so we know, if we have association with Chris Payne,
If I find evidence that somebody has been entering into a campaign, or evidence that Chris
so if
Payne...
we've had contact
Yes.
with Chris Payne in that kind of manner,
Yes.
we'll be expelled.
Yes.
But if we have association, however slim it is with the National Front, that's fine.
No, that is not fine. It was investigated by the NEC. Evidence was given by a number of people, including people exterior to this, including a member of the National Front who presented evidence to the NEC. The NEC investigated it, and the NEC found that there was no evidence that needed to be dealt with.
Well, I think that is the white elephant in the room. That was my concern last year. Not that I had the opportunity to vote because of the way the arrangement was put for the voting side. That it was a concern. It is still a concern because you Google Victoria Railing, Grimsby, you come up with that. Now, when that was when that came out, obviously Victoria had left the Conservatives and done that campaign. That was before the furore that surrounds UKIP in terms of what we went through last year as candidates. And that was my concern.
Just let me explain the position. There are 2 things to understand insofar as the, and it's not just the, let me deal with it in a general point, and then on specifically insofar as the candidate's concerned. There are a number now of prescribed organisations that membership of will prevent you from standing either as a branch officer or as a candidate. The National Front, the EDL, Britain First, and a number of other splinter groups. There are about 7 or 8. However, that rule was only brought in 18 months ago. Prior to that, you could be a member of the NF, and there are 1 MEP and 1 senior officer in the party who had previously been card-carrying members of the NF. One of them was 30 odd years ago, one of them was about 7 years ago. And both of those were hauled in front of the NEC for an explanation, and the explanation was accepted by the NEC. Insofar as Victoria and her membership of the NF, an explanation was sought by the NEC of Victoria as to why it was that particularly because the NF no longer really technically exists. I mean, it's effectively ceased to be an organisation. There was an ex-member of the NF who was actively promoting that she had been a card-carrying member. The NEC asked for an explanation as to this. An explanation was given and accepted by the NEC.
So, sorry, I'm going to get back to the point I was making then. That is still there, that is still out there. We will be campaigning this year.
Yes.
Victoria wasn't particularly prominent last year. That will be prominent this year. That's the point that I'm going
Yes,
to
and the
make.
NEC, I understand the point you're making. The point I'm trying to make to you is the NEC have investigated this. The NEC looked into it along with other things that were being said, particularly by Victoria's ex-husband and her mother. Quite an in-depth investigation was undertaken, including holding Victoria in front of the NEC for her to explain these matters. The NEC accepted those matters. And like I said when I started this, nobody has brought me any new evidence. There's lots of people rehashing things, like you just suggested there, the National Front, and also some of the other things that have been mentioned about it. But nobody has brought me anything new, and nothing more new has been brought to the NEC insofar as this is concerned. But more concerning, and I'll come back to the point again, is the matter of Chris Payne, because he is actively campaigning against UKIP. How many of you, you have to have my apologies for this, how many of you are actually councillors? Could you just put your hands up so I can actually see a count for you? That's 1, 2, 3. So 3 of you. So 3 of you are who represent UKIP on the council. This man is actively campaigning against the party. You are representatives of UKIP, and this man is actively carrying out a campaign in a number of constituencies, particularly on the East Coast, and including 1 or 2 people who've been expelled from the party. Danny from Portsmouth is a prime example of that. And if you wish to follow that by being involved with him, then trust me, I will lay waste to whoever it is who is involved with him. And that includes, we've had a number of people who hold up and say, I'm a councillor, that's fine. And to be quite honest with you, given the damage that this man has done, and to be quite honest with you, it isn't accidental damage, this is deliberate. This is not somebody, how can I explain, who's maybe on the wrong side of a vote. This man caused UKIP considerable problems, was expelled from the party, and has been actively campaigning against UKIP's interests along the East Coast, stretching all the way up almost as far as the northeast, sort of we're talking into the Hartlepool area, and all the way down beyond Great Yarmouth. So the party, let me tell you, takes an extremely dim view of it. That aside, like I've said to, I think, I'm sorry, I don't mean names, and my apologies for that. We can't stop him contacting people, which you know, there is a sensible understanding. And he has been contacting lots of people. For some reason, he seems to have access to a number of at least basic databases. Some, I think, probably from when he was a member of the party, and some of them which are being fed to him. Now, I don't know whether that includes...
Ours are out there in the public domain on the council website, all our contact details.
No, I'm not talking about councillors, I'm talking about members.
But this is the contact that we've had with...
Yes, well that's fine, we can't stop that, and nor can you.
I've never met him, but I think the issue here, with respect, is the fact that he wanted to put Robin Ailing in touch with Jane Collins.
And who's
My
Robin?
ex-husband,
Oh, right.
the one who's on sentence.
Yes, okay.
Which and that was his own involvement, which I then sought higher authority from Mike Speakman. Speakman said to talk directly with Jane Collins, and Jane Collins
now discussed that.
Yeah, indeed, and as
I've done with Michael as well, because
obviously
they have a specific interest.
Yeah, and from there, I understand that a meeting took place. Yeah, I wasn't present at that meeting. I don't know who was, but I certainly wasn't. And that's it. That's all.
I mean, I have to say, the problem that we have insofar, or rather the problem that the candidate has, and it's not the first time it's happened, we've had other candidates with ex-spouses of one sort or another, whether they've been male or female. It shouldn't impinge, and certainly insofar as his promulgation of the supposed photographs that exist, not that I've seen any of the photographs, but the number of people I understand have seen them. Before Christmas, that was a problem. After Christmas, it's a criminal offence.
Well, again, if these are in the public domain or with other people, we've got no control over that.
Oh, absolutely. No, but what I'm trying to get to is that all this evidence that we're talking about, and the repeated use of the evidence, particularly by the candidate's ex-husband, and particularly Chris Payne becoming involved, is effectively just regurgitating the same things that the NEC have already looked at. Now, the point I'm trying to make is that I can understand from a constituency point of view how that unsettles people. Victoria won't be the only person against whom the press and others, I mean, I think we will have seen some of our somewhat spectacular bad press last week, insofar as various people are concerned. But insofar as the evidence that has been produced to date, nothing that has not been looked at before has been provided. And unless somebody comes up with something that is seriously different to what I have seen up to date and the NEC have considered, now the position of Victoria as the candidate will not change.
So even with all this information that is out there, my issue last year was the NF, which
yes.
still is. It's still going to come out there, and people will associate me with Victoria, who will say is racist, and that will reflect on me because she's going to be far more high profile than I'm going to be, and people will associate that.
But that's assuming that there isn't an answer to the question. Because what you're saying is you're condemning somebody without. I assume that you've heard the explanation.
Can I finish?
Just answer that bit and then please go on.
Sorry.
You've heard Victoria's explanation for it.
I haven't heard Victoria's explanation. I've been told that it's been resolved, so that's fine. That's not my point. My point is that people outside this room who are going to make a decision whether they're going to vote for Victoria or not will question the candidates that are out there. Everybody will no doubt have something that they want to discuss. If they do a Google search, if they do anything, that's going to come out. That's the first thing. You're suggesting there's a lot more information out there that has been resolved by the NEC, but it hasn't been resolved outside these doors. So we've got a candidate who's going to come, and we as councillors and Steve Harness as the other BBC are going to be spend more time defending ourselves against all these allegations, and if that's what they are, they're allegations, then not. So that's my concern. It seems like this is decided, and this is just come to tell us not to speak to Chris.
No, that wasn't the case. Well, I was trying to explain excuse me. The evidence that I have been provided with up to date, and the evidence that the NEC has been provided with, effectively has been dealt with. What I have asked in the various emails that I've sent out to various people, and even tonight it would be exactly the same. If there is something out there that we haven't already discussed, and you just pointed out something, that you have said that you're basing your decision on an allegation about her.
No, people outside these doors will.
No, I appreciate that, but you personally haven't heard their explanation for it. Which surprises me. Sorry,
I've not been given an explanation.
No, I know, but you've already made your mind up.
No, I haven't.
Well, that's what you said.
It's not what
Well,
not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying people outside these
Yes,
doors
yeah.
will be making that decision. That's what I said. My decision last year was based on the evidence out, and when I had the conversation to decide whether I was going to stand in UKIP or independent, because that was my first choice, to stand independent, then I looked what UKIP had to offer, and I thought that's good. But obviously the association with that video and with the background was my concerns. They're my concerns. That's what I am. What I'm saying, people outside that door will have meetings like this around the table for you to explain to us.
No, I appreciate that, absolutely.
In terms of things I do want answered, and this obviously was part of the situation on the night that caused such an uproar in the branch meeting, was that something that Victoria said about her son. Now, we had a discussion about this tonight, and Councillor Stockton asked me not to bring family members. It was brought up by Victoria about her son being blown up in Afghanistan and nursing him back to health. I've sent you the email. I haven't acted on it because I was waiting for a response. Today I haven't had. And this was about the Daily Mail, the Sunday Mail on Sunday, contacting me and asking to confirm or deny that was said. I've passed it to you, I've passed it to Jane Collins. Today I've had no response. We had the meeting the other night. It alluded that someone was, from what Councillor Stockton said, that it was an illness, and that I should be ashamed of myself for doing what I did, which I thought was the appropriate method to pass it up to people like yourselves for you to make a decision, albeit I'm not an answer. So I still don't know what the answer to that question is, because I heard Victoria say, as other members in here did, that her son was blown up in Afghanistan and she nursed him back to health. And the Daily Mail want to pick up on this because they're suggesting that he wasn't.
I wonder why the Daily Mail contacted you.
Sorry, Sunday Mail.
Sorry, don't forget that.
Yeah. I don't know, they've been given my number, so obviously I served in forces, so whether they feel it's more pertinent that I said it, I don't know, but they contacted me. That was the email that I sent to you, but that's not really the question of why they did, but still not an answer back on that. And it's that kind of thing that doesn't give me the confidence.
Okay. Your chairman, what's your take?
Well, there's been disruption at every branch meeting since I took over as chair.
When did you become chair?
June last year.
Sorry, go on.
I have to say that I have no problem with Victoria standing as BBC for Grimsby. Victoria stood against me in hustings. It was all fair and square as far as I knew. I had a moment at January last year, which I did get in touch with John Stockton, who was the chairman at that particular time, and as far as I know it was resolved. I've got no problem with Victoria at all. The only problem I have as regards the branch is the disruption continuously at branch meetings by your campaign. And your campaign being these two guys here. This one does nothing but give me a hard time, and has done the same for a year when he was chairman last time. You know, there seems to be a lot of vitriol spat across the room at me. And my vice chairman, who is supposed to be assisting me to hold the branch together, is doing everything but.
I'm surprised you even recognise me.
Oh, I recognise you.
Liz, you cut out the loop most of the time.
I've got an explanation for that because I was cut out as well.
Ah.
It's all due to the forwarding system, reply all. I think, I can show you, I've got documentary evidence on one, from the latest one.
Well, that
It was obviously an error by Victoria when she forwarded it.
I've been the secretary of this branch since June 2011. We started at a stage where we had
You're Tim Beale.
There was 5 or 6 was set around the table, and that was the branch. What my concern is the division in the branch. It's getting more and more fractured. I really don't want people.
Well, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't.
Yeah, I know. But the point is, people are the worry is people are going to start walking away. We don't want
Sorry
people.
to it started already, really. We're hemorrhaging candidates like mad, and we're hemorrhaging members. As the
Well, it's not surprising, to be quite honest, when the branch gets into a dispute, regardless of the pluses and minuses on both sides, people who are not involved, or rather are involved but not as you all are around the table in a sense, it's what happens. It's a natural progression, regardless of the rights or wrongs on either side of the argument. If a committee is split, and it's clearly, I mean, my understanding, and please if I get this wrong, you'll understand. You're the vice chairman.
I'm the vice chair.
You're the chairman. You're the secretary. Who's the treasurer? Where there's a clear division in a branch, then that's what will happen. And it will happen regardless of whether they're right or they're right, because members are very fickle. All they want to do largely is campaign. And all they understand by campaigning is either knocking on doors or pushing leaflets. And if a committee is seen to be divided, that's what happens. And
Again,
again,
with all due respect, Steve Hartnett is a councillor. He causes no division. So division is only...
what I'm saying is that you're saying, sorry,
Ron Shepherd.
Mr Shepherd's saying that you're losing members and candidates. Assume you mean by that council candidates.
Yeah, I mean, this time last year we had a full 15. We've got 7 so far. And
is that 7 plus the ones who are still councillors?
no, these are new candidates
Okay.
that we're looking
So
at.
7 out of the 15 that you need?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's one here who
Yeah.
was a candidate who's
I've resigned my candidacy.
Um,
I'm staying as a branch member.
and Chris's reasons and other people's reasons, I'm sure, may be different, but you know, the branch meetings, I have to say, are not conducive with what we want to achieve at this time of the year.
Absolutely, and certainly not 102 days into the
I know, you know, and it's difficult enough as it is, as you full well know. For us, frontline soldiers, you know, and I, don't get me wrong, I accept Victoria as a candidate. That isn't the issue. It's fair and square. The campaign that's been run by her team has been kept to themselves, which I understand. Whatever reasons,
I don't understand that. I don't understand
Well,
that.
I have to say, given the email exchanges that I've seen and been copied into, I can understand why both sides aren't talking to each other, to be quite honest with you. But we can come to that. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. And you know, we were under the impression that there was a leak in the branch. You know, so I can understand that trying to keep information to a minimum was something. And really it culminated really last month that we closed the branch meeting because of these issues that we're now sat around the table talking around. And that really did kick it off, and people, long-term members, were just about to walk out the room with the way it was going on. It's the division is, I think, is terminal, and you know, and that is the key issue, the division. You know, there are people now who are asking questions, which certainly I can't answer. If any questions are to be asked of Victoria and her campaign team, because really, as a branch, and I can only speak for myself, I don't really know a lot of what's going on. So,
how many councils? I think here. How many councils are there? Is it 6 or 7? 8. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, and you know, we go back to the hustings. You know, I did ask the question if there was anything that would come out in the future that would embarrass us, and Victoria said there wasn't, which we take that on face value. Obviously now, if something does come out in the future which proves embarrassing, how much more do we do?
Well, insofar as the things that have been said to the NEC and the things that I've investigated, first of all, the personal matters, the things that have emanated from her ex-husband and the mother, are clearly designed to damage the candidate. And to be quite honest with you, I'm disappointed that the branch has actually held any store against them whatsoever. Because I think it's fairly clear that the campaign, and certainly where Robin Ailing is concerned, I've got proof that Robin Ailing is directly in contact with Chris Payne. And that's why I mentioned it, because I do know that for a fact, because somebody very kindly sent me a letter that an exchange between the parties. So, insofar as that is concerned, it seems to centre around suggestions of impropriety during their particular relationship. That, of course, at Christmas became a criminal offence. So if they are repeated by anybody, more importantly, any photographs appear, the party will ensure that that particular person, hopefully it will be Chris Payne, if we can nail him with them, or Mr. Ailing, both of them will have criminal charges brought against them. Insofar as the other allegations are concerned, which is the one that you raised, insofar as the candidate's son is concerned, and also another one. I have seen a letter from somebody concerning an incident that took place at an air show?
Airport.
Airport.
I was contacted by somebody from the Labour Party about 3 weeks ago, and
I've got 2 statements.
yeah, they told me a story of something that Victoria had done, and I went, yeah, right, you know, I just pushed it off. But he came back
Well,
and showed me the police report.
Yeah, well, I went to the trouble of talking to the police about it. The police had investigated it and said, take no further action.
Yeah, and that's what he says on the report.
However,
but he's going to get, they will use it. They'll throw as much chaff out there as they can.
I'm sure they will, but that's, you know, let's be honest, if you look at the press that's been this weekend, about unfortunate conversations that have been either overheard or reported by ex-members of the party to the press. You want to join that crew, those sorts of people, then...
Well, can I just stop you there? There's no... I've resigned my candidacy for what I believe are right reasons.
Well, I don't know what those reasons are.
Well, I'll tell you. I have made no public announcement about it. I haven't rubbished anybody, despite having it pulled back at me, but I haven't made any statement about Victoria, Steve, Chris, anybody at all, or even about me leaving UKIP. I've spoken to John, and I am going to stand as a branch member, and I'm going to work hard with Steve Harness in his campaign in Cleethorpes, because I think that's winnable. The reason I gave in my statement, and I've done another statement to run today, is one, I was absolutely effed off about the branch meeting. I've examined my own standpoint as regards the video that you made with your ex-husband about the NF membership and all that, and I've kind of put it away and put it away and put it away. And what I will say, I've always found Victoria very personable, and it's not a personal thing. I honestly believe, right from the hustings, that Victoria is possibly the worst candidate we could have selected, and that's not a personal thing. I think in the south, and I put that in the statement, in the southern constituency, I think brilliant, could have been great. Grimsby just needs, it needs some fire, it needs some passion, but that's my own opinion, and therefore it's valuable only to me. The racism thing, I've looked at it again and again, and I've seen the reasons that you've given in the press before for it, the NF membership and the video, and I'm going to be completely honest, I don't believe you. And I've looked and I've tried to, I've fought against racism all my life, half my family are black. I will not, I cannot endorse or support a candidate who I genuinely believe, whether anybody else does or not, who I genuinely believe is racist. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe you. And that's it. I'm not attacking you, there we go, but I don't believe you, and therefore as a matter of principle, that puts me away from the candidacy. I was going to resign from the branch, but we've worked fucking hard up here to get something to be proud of. Really hard. We're not just a unit of folks up here. The people in this room have grafted their backsides off to get UKIP taken seriously in this town, and we now have massive inroads into important stuff in the council. We're bringing stuff in that will benefit thousands of people. It's a great thing. You know, and I just think a lot of it will get sacrificed and chucked away with that particular, but that's my own feeling, and I know it's not shared around the room, but that's fine. Their opinion is as valid as mine, but that still makes mine a valid opinion. So I will not campaign alongside who I genuinely consider to be racist, so I've resigned my candidacy. I'll work with the MP candidate for Cleethorpes quite happily. I don't even know who Chris Payne is before the event starts.
Do you live which part of the constituency?
I live in Cleethorpes, so it's natural for me to live there.
You'll be working there.
Yeah. But they're not separate things. Cleethorpes and Grimsby are the same town, whether it appears that from no disrespect, but it's the same town.
It's clear that the branch is developed as a joint branch.
Yes.
Across two constituencies, and it's reflected across the country. We have lots of places where there is a single branch but two constituencies.
But issues in Grimsby and Cleethorpes, they're not seen as two separate towns or two separate sets of issues. And the feedback that I've got, and I speak to a lot of people all the time, and the feedback I've got reflects my feelings about it. And I'm not looking for, I'm just saying, oh, you get, yeah. I'm getting that, and I think it's going to be an issue for us. And I think you've got to get, if you win Grimsby, you've got to get towards 11, 12,000 votes, and at the minute I think you'll be stuck on around 7 or 8. I don't see where we're going to, you've got to out-labour Labour really to win Grimsby, to be honest, and we're not doing it. And Victoria is not seen, is genuinely not seen on the street as that person. So, you know, we'll see what happens.
In fact, not only are we doing well, we're doing far better than we anticipated where we will be in this particular constituency, and also next door in Cleethorpes, but Grimsby is doing better. We don't really understand why, but it is. Insofar as the other problems are concerned,
well, Grimsby get money, don't they?
yeah, that's right. Otherwise, without being funny, we wouldn't be intending to spend £36,000 in the constituency, which is what we're intending to spend.
What are you spending in
Cleethorpes already?
What are you spending in Cleethorpes?
Well, Cleethorpes isn't as high up the list as Great Grimsby is.
Nothing then?
Streets, no, it's not a case of nothing, it's just a case of the party had 30 odd key seats to choose, and Great Grimsby is one of them.
Okay, fine.
It's
your money, it's your money, you put it where you want to put it.
It's no reflection on the efforts being made in a number of next door constituencies, because you could ask the same, but there are two in this particular region. One is slightly further down the coast. But the problem that we have, and I understand what you're getting at. I understand that it's a genuine reason that you're...
It really is, yeah, and it's not attacking her.
No, I understand that. But the problem that we have is I have a number of options from this evening. I can effectively dissolve the branch and hand the branch over to the regional organiser, which you can do. And that would remove all of the officers, it wouldn't matter which side they were on. Apologies. Which is not something we do very often, but I have had to do it recently in a branch down south, purely and simply because the two sides, and it was again where a key seat's concerned, the two sides couldn't work together, and there was no meeting in mind. I don't want to do that. I can persuade you that the NEC have taken into account everything that has been raised, and let's be honest, everything has been out there in the media. You've already identified at least two of the stories insofar as the media are concerned. The things that are particularly personal, I think the fact that Victoria's partner is trying to use those against her as some form of ongoing campaign against her, which has got nothing to do with politics and everything to do with the relationship between the two of them. It's important. Can't do anything about it, unfortunately. He is neither a member. He is involved with somebody else who is not a member. If I could bury Chris Paynham's sons off Grimsby, trust me, I would do, but I can't.
Is he an ex-member?
He was a senior ex-member.
East Midlands regional organiser.
Yeah, he was an extremely important official at one stage, but the problem that some people have failed to understand over the past 10 years, that 10 years ago UKIP was a group of people with a sensible idea. Now it's a proper party that's actually being not only seen to be part of the Big Four, but is actually going to be represented in the House of Commons next year, with probably somewhere between 12 and 18 members of Parliament. Which means that we have actually broken the mould. We've got 2 members of Parliament already. I actually have discussed this particular seat with the head of the key seat, which is Douglas Carswell, and I actually discussed it about 2 hours ago, again with Nigel Farage. Now, Nigel knows everything. Nigel has seen the file. I've discussed it with him before, because we were talking about having this meeting potentially before Christmas, so I was in a meeting with him, and I discussed the file. And he said, have I discovered anything new? Was there something there that we did not already know about? And I have to say there isn't. And I come back to you again. I do not want to lay waste this branch. I really don't. You've done, as you have, with the gracious of respect, pointed out, you have done amazing things. You've got 8 councillors. You have moved this seat into the 3rd seat in the country where UKIP are expected to win. And that actually, ironically, given that the campaign is only, sorry, I'll give you a second on that, where we've really not started yet. The 100 days, effectively, is really the start of the campaign, and the 4 launches of policies and so forth have got to come. Sorry, you were going to...
Sorry, do you want to go first, Ron?
If I can. As the branch chair said, we accept Victoria. What we're asking for, really, is honesty and openness. That's the first thing. You know, how much more will come out in the future, we don't know. But if we don't know about it, then we have to deal with it when it appears.
Well, I think that's a very fair question to ask. But what I have to say to you is, bearing in mind that the 4 principal things that we already know about, was the National Front matter, the airport matter, the ex-husband matter, which seems interminable, and the other matter that you raised, the son and the incident, the nursing the son. All of those 4 items were known to the NEC and were investigated by them.
Sorry, is there an answer to the son then? Because I was waiting for a response from yourself and I've not heard. Or...
No, because I wanted to come to the meeting first, and I'll be responding, because I'm actually going to respond to all of you who've emailed me with my decision, and that one is one of the things I'll deal with.
So is there an actual response to that then? Because obviously what...
So, do you want to ask Victoria?
Yes, absolutely. I haven't had the answer. We tried to speak to the agent on that.
I want to say about email on Sunday. They've got all my details. I would suggest that you approach them, not the other way round. It's also a private
So that I
matter.
approached them.
I suggest you approach them, not the other way round. The
Right,
Mail on
okay.
Sunday, the national papers have all my details, and if there's anything they want to ask, they approach me direct. If they want to ask about my son, it's a private matter, and it's nothing to do with you whatsoever, Matt. It's a private matter. My son had problems in Afghanistan. He's now fully recovered and back in service. And I do not want to discuss my son with you. And if anybody in the army is giving out mistruths or anything about my son, I want to know their names because they've got no right to talk about another soldier's private life.
I've got a name for you, Victoria Rayland, because you told us that, sorry, let me finish.
Excuse me?
Sorry, Victoria, let me finish. You told at the branch, and Chris, was you, Ron, I don't know, I can't remember who, that you told us your son was blown up and nursed him back to health. The illness story is coming out now. As for you saying that I contacted him, Victoria, I'm not a politician. I got involved last year because I was frustrated with the way things are. I haven't got the time to go. I enjoy going to the council meetings, I enjoy doing what I do locally. I haven't got the time to play the kind of games that the people that surround you have. I'm just not interested in that. There's allegations that have been coming out from all over the place, and it seems tonight that Mr. Stoots has come down to tell us the situation from your perspective. You've been very quiet.
My son is a private matter. My son was...
Victoria, you brought it to the branch.
Excuse me, just hold on. First of all, I'm not here on Victoria's side. I'm not here on the branch's side. I'm here to state the party side. I work for the party, and it is my decision what happens after tonight. But what I was trying to explain to you, what the party had done already, which is the party have investigated the 4 principal matters that you have raised. Not you personally, but that have been raised, shall we say. And the NEC and Nigel Farage were happy with the explanations. Now, what I've come tonight is to try and find out, is there any way forward, just bear with me a second, if there's any way forward that this can actually be put behind the branch and move forward, because the party, and I have to say it's something that people are finding difficult to accept, and I understand this because the party has changed a great deal, particularly over the last 2 years. It is no longer the party that it was. It is now the party that is effectively the brand. People are coming to us because they wish to represent that brand. UKIP is very, very important now to a huge number of people. The membership in 12 months has gone from just over 25,000 to just under 45,000. That is a huge increase, because they're proper members. They're like the Greens, where they were offering free membership and membership. Or buy a green membership or get free membership, I don't know. I was facetious now. But the point is, I understand that there are divisions in the branch, and I'm there to find out whether or not those divisions effectively can be smoothed over for the benefit of everybody. If they can't, they can't. I'm not going to force you to do it, but my decision will be based on whether or not I can go out to the party and say, yes, I think they can work together, and I've left them to it, or no, and this is my decision.
So, sorry,
Can I just reply on that? Sorry. We will argue as a branch. We will have our arguments. We've all worked together for a long time. I disagree fundamentally with John on issues, as he does with me. I disagree fundamentally on issues with Steve, but agree mostly with him and agree. We can work our own problems out as a branch. We are very, very strong. We might argue, we might row.
Debate.
Yeah, but we work it out. Honestly, you have no idea of the work that we've done in the last year in this branch to raise the profile of UKIP in this area in a very, very positive way.
Well, to a certain
We can
extent,
sort our own problems out, whether we have a issues or not.
Let me put it back to you in a different way. I'm here because clearly you haven't. Because there are members of the branch who are sat around this table who would appear to differ with your interpretation insofar as working together. And what I'm saying to you is, if you can prove to me that you can put this behind you, because the party's position is Victoria is the candidate, and that is not going to change. Unless something suddenly comes up. Victoria tells me that there is nothing else, and to be quite honest with you, all of that was actually out at the time of the hustings. It was investigated because the branch, one or two people in the branch asked for it to be investigated, and it was fully investigated. It was fully investigated by effectively a subcommittee of the NEC. There were 4 members of the NEC. who looked very closely at everything that was provided. And that was actually before Chris Payne became involved. So it wasn't tainted in the sense by sort of suggestions of Payne. Payne has become a problem since the middle to the end of November, and this was resolved back in September, October.
I've never had, I don't know who Chris Payne is, I've never had any contact with,
I wish I did, to be
whatever.
quite honest with you, but
I'm doing this purely on
I would say
what I
it's the day of my
feel.
life, but that's far too much, far too close to his own name.
We accept that. I accept Victoria's account, as I said, and I accept that issues were raised. My concern really now is that if Victoria is now saying that there is nothing else, nothing else is going to come out that's going to embarrass us as a group, us as Victoria's their candidacy in Grimsby, all Steve Harris and Cleethorpes, because they are that close to each other, and what happens in one will have an effect in the other. And if Victoria is saying to us that there is nothing else, then I accept that. But if something does come out, allegations with evidence, yes, then will Victoria then fall on her own sword? Because that's what will happen if we accept tonight that, yeah, okay, we take it on face value, Victoria.
Can I give you the party's position on that? If something came out now, Victoria having said what she said, Victoria wouldn't have to fall on her own sword. I would remove her as a candidate.
Then I accept that. That's all I'm asking for, and all I'll ever ask for is openness and honesty, values and standards. As Chris said, as we've all done, we've worked pretty hard.
I think, sorry, I'm sorry, I know you said your name, I apologize.
Chris Osborne.
I think what Chris said, I felt it was a genuine statement. It wasn't, I didn't think it was concocted or tried to be in any way. I accepted it at face value. I understand your position.
There's nobody worked harder than him there, yeah. He is, he was here with Jackie Morgan when we were in our infancy, and you've seen it grow and grow and grow, and we've gained so much trust and so much respect in this area, not just for the fact that we've been successful in getting some councillors, but the fact that we've brushed off this fruitcake and loon business, we've brushed off the racism business, and they now see us as people that they can deal with, people that they can trust, and that's taken how many years, John?
10 years.
10 years.
Well, let me explain part of the reasoning behind the party's choice of Great Grimsby. It's not just a case of yes. It's not it's not a stick of licking finger and sticking it up in the wind. There are polling, the votes in the European election, the votes in the local elections, the candidate, the branch, the people, the reports that we get from the regional officers, the regional organisers like Speakman and his team, the MEPs, plus a myriad of other things. And I promise you that the party will not be intending to spend so much money on a particular constituency if they didn't think that you had been doing the job right. And this is why it's important that we get the whole matter back on the rails. But just to give you an idea of what being a key constituency means. First leaflet, and these are all L1s and different things. The first leaflet will go out to 35,000 homes in the constituency. Second leaflet, again promoting both the party and the candidate, will go out to 20,000 targeted homes in the constituency, people who indicate that they've already either voted UKIP or are likely to vote UKIP. The survey, which is then the pledges, and when I think it was that gentleman who talked about the number of votes that are needed. In the constituency, we're aiming to get what are called 15 to 16,000 pledges of support, which will be enough to give us the seat. Thereafter, there's the third leaflet, that's L3 and L4. Those again are targeted based on the survey, which is S1, which is what I've just talked about. That will be sent, that survey is sent out to 20,000 individuals in the constituency. There are then two further leaflets. There's then a leaflet for the three parts of the election address. So there's the postal vote one, which comes out, which you will appreciate is very, very important. There's a second one, which is to heads of households, which have not already been targeted, and then obviously the election leaflet itself. Billboards and ad vans, and that will not only affect obviously this constituency, because of course, as you've ably all pointed out, these are two constituencies that are rolled very closely together. So while the leaflets will benefit the other constituency, certainly the ad vans and the billboards and so forth will. And as we go forward, more and more donors are coming on board, and we are spreading out where we have one key seat. The cluster effect is working, and we're able to actually put funds then into the surrounding seats as well, and that's what we're intending to do. So it is a serious effort that the party is now putting into 31 key seats, which we're hoping eventually to be able to expand to 75 key seats. But this one is very, very important, and it remains within the top 5, and actually is at number 3 at the moment in the league of seats that we're expected to win. It's very, very, very important. So, sorry, you missed a bit about what I've been explaining what's going to happen, but the spillover will include stuff that will come out in Cleethorpes, particularly things like the ad vans and the posters, the billboard posters and so forth. And the hope is that as the polls do it, showing us better do it, as it goes forward in the next 7 days, that there will be money spent in the surrounding constituencies as well.
Okay. Can I ask a question on
Yes, sir.
on a policy level? We've got that thing that went on in Greece, the elections yesterday.
Yes.
Labour are now planning to take, or it's reported, that the Ed Miliband are going to take this massive leap to the left. Will we be following suit, or are we going to stay where we are? Will it affect in any way
I have to say,
our approach?
I do not know, but there are policy meetings every week, and I mean the person who's been brought in to head up the policy, because the Tim Aker, regardless of what the press say, Tim Aker actually asked to stand down before Christmas because he was literally, he just had too much to do. He's a key seat, he's an MEP, and he'd also foolishly, God knows why, stood as a local councillor as well, which increased the pressure. But Suzanne Evans has come in to do it, and if you have input or wish to, she is literally available if you want to talk to her. All you've got to do is use her email address, suzanne.evans@ukip.org, and you can ask her the question directly.
No.
Please feel free to do so.
I take on board that the investment in Grimsby is a target seat. The ramifications of any further allegations and evidence coming out in the future will not only affect Grimsby as a constituency and Cleethorpes as a constituency, but also Scunthorpe and everywhere else in Yorkshire and Norfolk. That's our fear. We know.
Can I just give you an idea of how serious the problem we have insofar as what has been going on both here and further south? One of our other serious key seats is Boston Skegness, and he has been working actively behind the scenes there to try and derail what we're doing there as well.
Who's that? Sorry.
Chris Payne. So if I sounded